Hey there, I'm Brittany Schroeder, and business and marketing are my jam. I'm here to walk you step by step through this crazy thing we call business. I'm a small town girl, chocolate eating, Diet Coke drinking mom, marketing guru, automation Jedi, and all around good time. This is your weekly dose of all things business and life, sprinkled with some fun. This is the Redefine Business Podcast. Welcome to another episode of Redefine Business Podcast. I'm excited for my guest today, JD Haitsma. I was laughing because I had his wife on a few days ago, and then I said, I gotta get your husband on because we were talking about his business. And so I said, I'm getting the family this week. So JD, welcome to the podcast. JD is the Kajabi expert, all things Kajabi. So welcome, JD, to the podcast.
Thanks so much. It's great to be here.
And his Canadian accent is thick. It is thick. So, JD, go ahead and just introduce yourself to my listeners and tell us a little bit about like your journey and how you got to where you're at now.
Yeah, for sure. So I've always been interested in technology and design. I took a website course actually in university when I was doing my finance and economics degree, but I've never really gotten into actually doing anything with design or with websites or technology until maybe 4 years ago. I was a banker, and after 5 years of banking, realized that I didn't really want to continue with that career. And Crystal, my wife, she became a life coach and started needing a website and all sorts of email marketing and different things like that, and was definitely needing help. And so I started doing that stuff for her, and it was interesting, and I liked it, and I started doing it for some of the people that she was going to school with. And as I was working, I was doing all of this after hours, and it just kept getting more and more and more, and I was like doing a lot for other people. And I was working on a contract at the time. And when my contract ended, I decided to not renew it, but just to kind of devote myself more fully to this. And so I'd been working with Kajabi for about a year then. And I thought that if Crystal's a life coach and has like complete mobility in her job, there's no point in me being anchored down to a desk somewhere. And so, and I've always kind of wanted to own my own business. And so I decided, well, let's give this a go. I'll see how it works. If I can focus more on it, I'm sure more will come. And it's just grown ever since then. And so it's been about 3 years now, I think. And I've been the Kajabi guy. That's how people know me. I just do basically anything that you need done for Kajabi, and it's been really good.
Yeah. So, and if you're not familiar with Kajabi, Kajabi is an online platform where I want to say it's the all-in-one. It has a lot. It has email marketing. It has a checkout cart, but the main purpose, I think, is people use it for digital courses. But you can build a website on there. I mean, there's lots of, has a lot. You can host a podcast on there. So there's lots of uses for the platform. But I would say that's like the main. Like it's online courses is kind of what it's known for. So
yeah, for sure. Sure.
And we had Crystal on a few days ago, and y'all have like, you have been traveling, you're like nomads, you're traveling all over the place. So did your like the Kajabi thing, I mean, did that just kind of like all happen, or was that the plan? Like, I need to find a job where I can work anywhere. I mean, how did that happen? Or is it just kind of how it fell into place?
That just basically happened. Since I started, like after university and I got a job, Crystal was like, wait a second, you like only get a few weeks off a year, and how are we supposed to like travel or do anything? I was like, well, this is what getting a job is, I guess. And yeah, I'm going to be stuck there. And so for, a long time, Crystal was like, well, wait, this just doesn't seem to be working. There's got to be something else. And then we just kind of, I just started into doing this website stuff. And I was like, and then I saw this as an opportunity to kind of get away from, being locked into a fixed position where we wouldn't be able to move around. And that was one of the bigger reasons to kind of decide to jump into it, was because it would be an opportunity to not be fixed to a certain place and to be able to travel and to do all those things that Crystal has been wanting to do for a super long time. And so I wasn't, looking for this or, testing out different types of jobs or looking for different companies or platforms to start working for. It just kind of all fell into place.
Nice. I love it. So, and he's awesome. I've seen some of his websites. He does incredible work. The reason that I wanted to chat with you today that really piqued my interest when I was talking to your wife is we were talking about different marketing strategies, and her and I are both like extroverted and networker, and we like networkers, we like to talk. And she was talking to me a little bit about that you are an introvert, you're not an extrovert, it's not your jam. And so she kind of started talking about some of the things that have been working for you as far as building your business and driving traffic. And I, as I business coach people, a lot of times something that I see entrepreneurs struggle with is they see the way that one person is doing it. And it's usually social media, because we're all on social media. And they think, I have to do it that way because that's how so-and-so did it. Or maybe they have a mentor and their mentor's been really successful on social media. And so a lot of times they do that, and either it's just like not their jam. Like it doesn't, you can tell that they might be awkward. It just doesn't, or they don't even want to do it. So talk a little bit about what you've been doing to grow your business. Where are you getting your business and your traffic?
Yeah, for sure. That's a great point. And I definitely don't like social media. I don't use it personally. And so when I started this business, I was like, well, people do use social media a lot and they're always on there and whatnot. But I was like, I'm not going to do that because I just would hate doing it. I joined, I guess, to be fair, I do have the Instagram account. Mm-hmm. And I started that after we went to an event in Arizona, and people were like, oh, how do I connect with you? What's your handle or this or that? I was like, well, you can email me. And they're like, oh, people just don't seem to like keeping email addresses. It's not a thing. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to get an Instagram account so that next time I go to an event or whatever, people can just quickly find me on Instagram and then follow me. And so I was in this one group and they're like, oh, introduce who you are. Let us know what your Instagram is and tell us why we should follow you. All right, well, this is my Instagram account and you should follow me because I'm never going to post anything. So you don't have to worry about me stuffing up your feed and getting annoying.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, great. And then I was like, and if you ever have a question about Kajabi, you know that I'm in your Instagram and you can find me easily. But one of the things that is kind of very, part of who I am is I really don't like doing things other people's way. I just like doing it the way that I want to do it.
You're a rebel. And you're a rebel, JD.
I am for sure. And so if even if it doesn't make any sense, I'll just do it my way because I'm doing it, so why not follow the way I want? And I decided that with Kajabi and with my business, I was going to basically rely completely on referrals and on SEO, which is search engine optimization. So I guess technically on search. And so that's where all of my clients come from. They come from people getting referred. And that happens a lot. People will just I'll get emails out of the blue asking, to meet and to get some work done. And I get people that come to my site through, searching on Google. And that took a while to develop. But I actually really, I think it's amazing. My website and my blog, I started a blog because a blog is really your best way to make a presence on Google. And just recently I started a YouTube channel to kind of add to that. But I built everything with the idea that I'm going to do this in a way that Google is going to recognize that I'm an authority for Kajabi. And slowly it started working, and it honestly didn't bother me at all that it was slow. Like I was very aware that, trying to influence Google is kind of like pushing up against a boulder, and you have to really push at it a long time to build up momentum for it to start rolling. But once it rolls, it's kind of always there. And so people find me on the internet. They are just looking, and they come across me, and that's how it happens. And so it's pretty awesome as far as I think it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I often say that too, is, if people, I think a lot of entrepreneurs, our default is social media because everybody's on it. It's easy. It's just, there's like that instant gratification. But I often say you need to have a social platform and a searchable platform. And those are like blogging, YouTube, Pinterest, those have like a search engine in them, and they take a lot longer to build up. There's not instant gratification, but they have a way longer lifespan. So your effort goes a lot further. Like on social media platforms, your content gets buried so quick. But when you're blogging or YouTubing, those posts can come up for years. They can come up forever, and it really drives like a lot of traffic that way.
Super, super interesting, and that's really great advice that you're giving, as far as I'm concerned. If you're thinking about SEO as a potential strategy, and you do some quick searches on yourself, and it just is too scary at first, don't let that deter you from doing this, because with some strategic, looking around and exploring some different angles, there might be some really good opportunities for you specific to your brand and your content. So keep an open mind to it, I guess, is what I would say. Yeah.
Okay. A few questions about SEO, because I am a blogger. I do blog. Do you come up with so like I use Asana for like just ideation, coming up with ideas. I just kind of brain dump them. Do you come up with the idea and then look for the keywords, or do you look for keywords first and then try to come up with like concepts around those keywords? Like how do you do it?
I do both. So when I started my blog, I hired an SEO expert to do some keyword research around Kajabi related keywords. Mm-hmm. And so he found, maybe 100 different keywords with click volume and with projected difficulty. And so then we looked, and he gave some advice as to like what type of a difficulty range would kind of be an achievable kind of target. And then we chose keywords from that. And I found that, there were some pretty good opportunities. And then I created kind of like a base, here's 10 articles that I'm going to kind of start based off of this. And from then, mostly it's been, the idea that I want to write about. I do still do keyword research and look for kind of a good ratio or between difficulty and volume. But most of what I do now, after I've kind of got a bunch of articles out about that, most of what I write about now is just from the idea that I've got or a specific thing that I've got. And Kajabi is a really good niche for me, because it doesn't really matter if there's a lot of people searching for like, how do I do this in Kajabi? And there's not, in the grand scheme of things. But if any one of those people that are looking on like to get advice about Kajabi find me, if they like my article, then that's a really good lead. And they're probably going to either come back or maybe even take the next step and like, well, who is this guy and how come he was able to give me that help? And I find that it's transactional. And within search, there's informational, transactional, and logistical search intent. And search intent makes a big difference as to kind of what happens with your content. And so I find specifically for the content that I have, that transactional, informational kind of cross between informational and transactional content really yields high results.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wanted to go back a little bit and my listeners who aren't super familiar with SEO. So explain to them the difference between like, well, click volume. I mean, and you can add on to this. Basically, click volume is how frequently people are searching and clicking on that keyword. So if it has a really high click volume, that means you have a lower chance of ranking because it's an oversaturated, it's oversaturated, that word. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Okay.
Think of it like if something's getting a lot of volume, it's attracting a lot of attention. And so there's going to be a lot of people competing for that volume.
Yeah. So that's click volume. So then difficulty. Explain difficulty.
Yeah, you bet. There are SEO tools like Ahrefs, SEMrush, or Mozilla, a bunch of them, and they all rank difficulty according to their own algorithms. So there's no like Google doesn't come out and say this keyword is going to be this hard to get, but all of these different platforms have their own way of saying difficulty, and it's a scale of 0 to 100. And basically, it's really tied into volume and to well, I don't pretend to know what where they get it from, but it's a good measure, and really to know that it's a scale. So like the lower it is, between 0 and 20 or 30, that's going to be something that can be competed against, kind of, I'm not going to say fairly easily, but kind of at a beginner stage. And then as the scale moves higher, 30 to 40 or 50, you're going to have to be pretty established to compete against something like that. And then 60 and above, that's going to be just flat out quite hard.
Yeah. So the difficulty is saying your page can rank. And when we say the word rank, that means on what page? So it could be, ultimately the goal is to be ranked on page 1, meaning people Google a question and your website comes up on page 1. So that's what we're referring to when we say ranked. So when you say difficulty in ranking, you want a lower number, right? So if it's like it's really hard. If you use this word, it's going to be like really like, and it's at 80%, it's going to be really hard for you to rank, but lower. So that's kind of the difficulty. So I wanted to kind of elaborate on that. I thought that I knew difficulty, but I wasn't like quite sure, but I did know the click volume. So, and as far as like ranking too, one of the things like is like your domain authority. That's something that I actually was just today. I was doing an Instagram post on domain authority, and I was writing something up, and I check on my domain authority. Basically, it's like how legit is your like website is what a domain authority is. That's kind of like that's really like dumbing it down, but a lot of times we like something like Facebook or like Instagram, those have like really high domain authorities. They are super legit, meaning they're trustworthy. Lots of people visit them, lots of people link to them. And so those are the ones that are going to rank, those ones rank really, really high. And so with the algorithm, and jump in, JD, anytime, with the algorithm, it takes all those things into consideration. So I can write a blog post about something and say, and my domain authority, I know it is because I checked this morning, it's 17.
Yeah. So that 17 is a great domain authority. That's something to be happy about for sure.
Yeah. Well, and it's one of those things. I've been a regular blogger, but it's also a time. So if your website is a newer website, then there's lots of different factors that go into your domain authority, basically, but time is one of them. The longer the website, the more trustworthy, the higher domain authority. So basically what we're saying is if I write something and somebody who has a higher domain authority than me writes almost something that's like the same, they're going to rank higher because they're more trustworthy. So those are kind of some of the things that you are like competing with, and it just takes time,
Yeah. It does. And a good example kind of that and the time is my domain is thecoachsupport.com. I mostly work for life coaches. And so when I first started, if you Googled the coach support, the Coach handbag company, like Coach brand, it was like everything was Coach, and it was theirs like coach.com support for like all of their help articles.
Yeah.
And then I did that and I kicked myself. I was like, oh, how am I ever going to like outrank Coach, that has this expensive brand for like my domain?
Yeah.
And I just Googled the Coach. And so whenever people would ask me what my website was, I was just put in the Coach support and then put JD into Google. If you put JD, then, Google would find me. But you don't have to do that anymore. If you just go into Google and you put the Coach support, you'll see all of this handbag stuff for like support and like help and all this with your bags. But I'll be up there also in like the first or second thing. So Google, it's been a few years now for my domain. Google started to recognize that like I'm different. So it's starting to put me up there. Google does learn. And anyway, so that was kind of interesting to see.
Yeah. I also think too, and maybe I'm wrong with this, but I feel like even with SEO and ranking that you really never know, so it's about consistency. I think it's similar to like social media. I can post like a great reel or something and I'm like, oh, this is going to be really good. And it totally flops. Other times I post stuff and it can go like viral. And so I think that is kind of similar with SEO. You have to be consistent and you learn different strategies, obviously, that help. But a lot of it is just like it's a numbers game and you keep doing it and you're going to see success, but you've just got to keep at it.
Yeah, it's, I think that's really true. So I don't think that anybody's going to try and search me up on Google Maps, and anyone who has an online business probably also thinks that. So they're probably thinking, I'm not going to care about Google reviews. I'll just put testimonials on my website where people will see them. But Google sees them on Google reviews. And my whole business being reliant on SEO, it's very important to me to know how Google sees me. So I collect reviews from people, and I've got a lot of really great reviews on Google. And that is just one aspect that kind of fits into the whole picture Google has on me. Google wants to give people really good answers to their questions whenever they search something. And so if Google has a very holistic picture of me being an expert for Kajabi, it's going to be a lot more likely for Google to give my content to the people who are searching in it. And just another little quick plug for Google reviews. I didn't know that this would happen, but in some of my search rankings, like when someone searches something, sometimes my Google review and the number of 5-star reviews I have shows up underneath my search. And when I saw that, I had never seen that before. And it surprised me. And none of the other results had 5-star reviews, or reviews or anything. And so when someone goes to that page and that page performs really well for me, that I saw this on, I think it sticks out because there's 5-star reviews there and there aren't any reviews, no matter what stars, on any of the other ones that come up. And so it helps people, just gives one more reason for someone to click on that one.
It validates you. Yeah, for sure. I love that. Well, awesome, JD. This was so interesting. I actually geek out over SEO. Like I'm super into it. So this has been really interesting to me. Get your Google reviews, people, put it in your workflows. So JD, tell people how they can work with you if they use Kajabi. How can they get a hold of you and work with you?
You bet. So the best place to go is my website, which is just thecoachsupport.com. And you can contact me there or see what I'm all about. And I actually am just starting a YouTube channel. So I'll send people there, although there's only a little bit of content there right now, but it's growing for sure. And that's Kajabi in 5 minutes. So if you're on Google, on YouTube, you can search for that as well.
Awesome. Well, okay, JD, I like to end all my podcasts with asking my guests 2 questions. So what is a pet peeve and a simple pleasure? Start with pet peeve.
A pet peeve would be noisy eating.
That's my teenagers. Yes.
Yeah. And then a simple pleasure, there's a bunch actually, but I'm gonna say a really comfortable chair.
Oh, that's a good one. Especially as we get older, we more appreciate comfort. So for sure.
Yeah.
Well, JD, thank you so much. This has been so good, so interesting. Thank you for joining us on the podcast.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for having me.
Let's not stop the party here. Head on over to my Instagram or Facebook group, Redefine Your Business, and let me know your thoughts about today's show. I will see you again, same time, same place, next week.